Right, Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah. Welcome to the 7th in a series of videos connected with Arabic morphology, foundations, connected to the 3-letter root. This was not supposed to be the 7th video. We were supposed to stop at 6. However, there were certain forms that, in hindsight, I saw needed to be added here. So I decided to add them here for you. So this is the 7th and hopefully, inshallah, final video connected with the 3-letter root. So what we want to look at are some odd verb forms and how those would actually be conjugated into the different forms that we've talked about. All right. So we have the fi'l, the fa'il, the maf'ul, the ism, makan, and zaman, and then the ism or the masdar that is going to be taken from the verb. So let's look at the different verbs that we have. We have radda, rad, which means to reject. What you'll notice about rad, which makes it a bit odd, is that the ainul fi'l and the lamul fi'l are the same, and so they're put there with the shadda on top. We don't say radada, we say radda. Same as hajj, you say hajja. Next we have wasafa, which means to describe. Now wasafa is odd because the first letter is a harf illa, which would be a waw or a ya. Aleph can also be a harf illa, but because it's not a harf, it's not a letter in its own right, it's used more for elongation, then the aleph is always or is usually indicative of a waw or a ya outside of elongation purposes. When a verb begins with a harf illa, then we call it mithal. We call it mithal. So wasafa means described. Next we have khana. Here the harf illa is in the middle, that aleph, and that aleph is indicative of a waw. Yeah, but in the past tense we use an aleph to represent it. So khana means he deceived or to deceive. Khana is to deceive. And it's referred to as ajwaf. It's referred to as ajwaf. Next we have dana. Now dana is indicative, that aleph there is indicative of a ya. So dana is the past tense verb here. And the aleph, as we said, is indicative of a ya. And again, it is also ajwaf because the middle letter is a harf illa. The last one we have is da'a. Here the harf illa is at the end. And that's what we call naqis. So if a verb is naqis, then it has a harf illa at the end. That's naqis in terms of morphology. In grammar, a naqis verb is different. You'll have to study that outside of the context of this lesson. But it is different. So just make sure you differentiate between morphology terminology and grammar terminology. So let's get to conjugating and see how we do this. So radda we have. How do we do the ism fa'il when the ainul fi'l and the lamul fi'l are the same? Well, they're going to stay together in the ism fa'il. So radda becomes rad. Rad. Yeah? Rad. Yeah? Radun or rad, because we don't pronounce the last haraka when we stop on it. Yeah? So it's not radidun, it's radun. Yeah? So keep that in mind. Also, for example, hajja, it would be hajjun. Next we have the ism maf'ul. For the ism maf'ul, so rad would be a rejector. A rejector. The ism maf'ul, rejected, that would be, we're going to separate the two dals there, the ainul fi'l and the lamul fi'l, so it becomes mardud. It becomes mardud. So mardud is rejected. Next we have the place where something is returned or sent back or goes back to. Then we're going to put the two dals together again, so that becomes marad. La maradda lahum min Allah. They have no place to go back to from Allah. People are scared on Yawm al-Qiyamah and they run in different places, but there's nowhere they can run to get away and escape from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His judgment. May Allah help us. Last one, the ism that we have is rad. Rad is rejected. As we said, the ism can be different from verb to verb. So it's not anything you can depend on in terms of a specific form. But for rad here, then it is rad. Yeah. Man ahdatha fi amrina hada ma laysa minhu fahuwa rad. Whoever innovates something in this affair of ours, yani in the religion, then it is rad, yani also rejected. Rad meaning mardud. Next we have wasafa, which we said means to describe. So here it's going to stay basically the same. Wasafa, the fa'il is wasif, which is a describer or a descriptor, something that describes something or someone that describes someone else. The maf'ul would be mawsuf, which is described. Described, the thing being described. If you're studying grammar, then you have the sifa and mawsuf, the thing being described. The place where something is described is the mawsuf or the mawsif, and that may not actually be a word. Sometimes, as we said, when we deal with morphology, we do theoretical words, even though the words may not actually exist. And then the ism, we have two possibilities. You can keep the waw or you drop the waw. If you drop the waw, you have to replace it, and you're going to replace it with a ta marbuta. So you would have wasf or you would have sifa. Same if the verb was wasala, you could have waslun or you could have sila. So that's how that works. The next verb that we have is khana. Khana, we said, is ajwaf. It has a harf illa in the middle, and it means to deceive. Yeah. So a person who deceives, a deceiver, we're going to take that harf illa in the middle, and it's going to turn into a hamza, and we're going to put it on a kesra for the ainul fi'l. So it becomes, khana becomes kha'in. It becomes kha'in. And that's what you're going to do with ajwaf verbs, is that when you change it to the ism fa'al, you're going to put it on a hamza. The ayn is going to become a hamza, and it's going to be with a kesra. So kha'in, tara becomes ta'ir, and so on. Now, because of the waw, that khana is initially a waw, that harf illa is a waw in the middle. If we were to put the other waw with it, we would now have two waws for elongation here. So what's going to happen for the ism maf'ul is we're going to drop the waw. So we have makhun. So makhun would be deceived. Yeah. Now when we get to the place, when we deal with places and times, the aleph is going to come back. So the place where one is deceived is going to be the makhan. Makhan is the place where one is deceived. Again, theoretically, I'm not sure if makhan is actually a word. Then the ism, as we said, which can be different from word to word. Here it is khiyana ala wazni fi'ala. Next we have dan, which is to give someone, to loan someone something. So the person who loans to someone is the person who loans to someone. Same as kha'in, we have da'in. Yeah. Now here, because remember we had the waw and the double waw we took away. Well, here we have a ya. The asl of dana, the asl of that aleph is a ya. Now we're going to have to drop the waw because ya and waw don't go together. And we're going to drop the waw. We're just going to leave the ya there. So it's going to actually become madin. Madin is going to be to the loan. So the one who takes the loan is the madin, and the one who gives the loan is the da'in. Yeah, so madin. So here, because of the ya, we drop the waw. That the fa'ul fi'l is going to take a kesra here instead of a dhamma as it normally takes. But that's because of the power of that ya to change the direction of the harakat. Again, the place where the indebting occurred, that would be the madan, if that's a word, and then the ism would be dain. Yeah, ala wazn fa'alun. So the next one that we have is da'a. For da'a, we began here, we said this is naqis, means to call out and to supplicate. Naqis means that it doesn't have, or it has a harf illa as the lamul fi'l. For the ism fa'il, we have da'in. So here we're going to drop the aleph at the end, and that's what's going to happen a lot of times, is that aleph at the end drops when it's by itself like that. However, if we put aleph lam, then it would become a da'i. Same like qada, it becomes qadin. Now sa'a, sa'in, and so on. The one who calls out or supplicates. For the ism maf'ul, which means the one who supplicated to, then that would be the mad'u. So what happens here is the lamul fi'l, that wow in the middle, which you see here, and the wow which really exists at the end, they come together and we put a shadda on them. So we have mad'u. Yeah, so the one that you call out on to is the mad'u. For the makan, then it's going to keep its form. The aleph is going to stay there, but the aleph is going to change its form. So instead of being an aleph mamduda as it is here, it becomes an aleph maqsura. Yeah, so we say mad'an or mad'a, and we keep that ya, that aleph maqsura there, even though we didn't keep it for the ism fa'il. So just keep that in mind. And then for the ism, as we say, it can be different. You have du'a, you have da'wa. All of those are all possible isms or asma for this verb. So the next thing that we want to talk about are passive verbs. You're going to come across passive verbs sometimes as you read. Passive just simply means that we don't name who does the action, either to hide who does it or because who does it is already obvious. Doubt wants to inform you that the jar is broken, that he broke. He would normally say the jar broke. He wouldn't say I broke the jar. So that's passive. The jar broke, as if the jar did it on its own. Also, you find that used a lot in the Quran when the when the stars are wound around and you lose their light. Allah does that. When the sea is set ablaze, again, only Allah can make those types of things happen. So the passive verb is passive. We don't name who does the action, either because we want to hide it or because it's obvious. So the form for that is fu'ila, that we put the dhamma first, the kesra next, and then the fatha last on the fa'ul fil, the ainul fil, and the lamul fil, respectively. So we have nazala, to come down, kesra, to break, wajada, to find, sami'a, to hear, kataba, to write, shariba, to drink, jama'a, to collect, akala, to eat. If we change those to passive, then nazala becomes nuzila, means it was sent down. Yeah, we don't name who sent it down. Kusira, it was broken. Wujida, it was found. Sumi'a, it was heard. Kutiba, it was written. Shuriba, it was drunk. Jumia, it was collected. Ukila, it was eaten. Now, instead of having an actual doer, you will still have a subject, but instead of having an actual doer of the action, the doer will become the object will become the doer. So I say, for example, nuzila, well, I can't think of an example for that. Kusir al-qalam, the pen was broken. I don't say who broke the pen. Wujid al-fulus, the money was found. Sumi al-adhan, the adhan was heard. Kutib al-risala, or kutibat al-risala, the letter was written. Shurib al-halib, the milk was drunk. Jumi al-tawabi', the stamps were collected. Ukil al-khubz, the bread was eaten, and so on. So we take away the actual doer and we make the object the doer. Those are just some basic things we wanted to keep in mind that I wanted to inform you of, so that when you see those types of verbs come up in the other forms, that at least you have some type of working knowledge about how to deal with them in some type of way. Thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Randy Fouse, and I hope you found the 7th and inshallah last lesson to be beneficial. From here on, we'll be moving on to the Arabic verbs that go beyond the 3-letter root. Thank you very much.